All right, hello everybody. I hope everybody's having a good day. Today we're going to be talking about how you can win hackathons with AWS. And not just with AWS, but also some general tips and tricks that are going to help you build and run projects on AWS, but also how to win hackathons outside of using AWS. So there are a bunch of core components that I want to go over. But the first thing to really think about is, what are you going to build? And I have a couple of tricks that I've used in the past for this. And one of those is to examine the tools that you have readily available to you right now. So what are the things that you can do right now that other people can't, that you have that other teams aren't going to be able to do right away? And if you can identify those things and build upon them, you'll immediately start generating ideas that other people can't. And that's kind of key. So there are a couple different phases of a hackathon, right? And the reason that I'm doing this episode is that we have a hackathon that we're doing at Angel Hack this weekend in Seattle. And I'm going to be a judge there. And so I'm looking forward to seeing all the projects, but I also wanted to go over some of the things that happen and you know why people end up choosing the platforms they choose and how it all comes together. So if I were to break down hackathons into a few different phases, I would say the first phase is the ideation phase. The second phase is the build your team phase. The third phase is to build your product phase. And the fourth phase is the demo your product phase. Now, I've seen some advice on the web that says you need a biz dev person or you need someone with presentation skills. And while I think that's vital, business development is not what a hackathon is about. Anybody who's telling you that is trying to make their skill set seem relevant when it's not. It's just not going to matter at a hackathon. It matters for a startup and it matters for a business, but it doesn't matter at a hackathon where you're literally just trying to win. You're trying to build something, and it doesn't need to be perfect, and you don't have to have a lot of ideas around how you're going to make money and stuff like that. It's about combining different kinds of technology into something that hasn't been done before. So that's where the ideation phase comes in. And the first thing you do in that ideation phase is look at the set of tools that you have available. Then what I normally do is I sit down with a notepad and I set myself the task of coming up with 30 different ideas. I kind of time limit myself because these are typically timed events between 24 and 48 hours. So I do normally set a time limit for myself and I say, come up with as many different ideas as you can, don't get attached to any of them. And then I look through these ideas, and then I look at what the sponsors are or who the API judges are, and I try and mix and match and find some overlap between the ideas that I come up with. Next is the team building phase. And for team building, you need to find complementary skill sets. And what I mean by that is, if you're an iOS or React Native or Android mobile developer kind of person, then you need people who will have backend skills. You can't build everything on Parse or Firebase. Well, Parse doesn't exist anymore, so you certainly can't do that. Or Firebase. You're going to need some sort of backend at some point. The next thing is to find, if you're a backend person, find somebody who has some mobile expertise or some front-end expertise. Or if you're building a VR application, find somebody with some VR expertise. And if you're a front-end person, find that complementary skill set. But again, you'll see some advice online that advises you to find like a biz dev person, and at a hackathon, they are not useful. So I will firmly say that this is not necessary at a hackathon, and that's kind of controversial, but it's not just my opinion. I think it's borne out in what you see from judges and stuff like that. I think pretty much anybody can come up with some idea of how you might make money or how you might lose money, and if you have investor judges and who are interested in those sorts of questions, then you can answer those questions for them. But your goal isn't to convince them. Your goal is to build something cool. All right, so you've built your team, you've ideated, You've come up with some cool idea. The next thing is to build your actual demo. And I say demo and not application very purposefully. Your application does not need to be full-featured, but it does need to work. The core components, the core technology needs to be there. It doesn't necessarily need to be polished. It doesn't necessarily need to be the perfect combination of user input validation and sign-on flow and design, but it does need to actually work. I have judged many hackathons where people have statically linked things where regardless of the input that you put in, it will always give the same output. So in a demo, they can kind of fake what's happening. And that's an idea. That's not a product. That's not a demo. That's just an idea that you've put some fancy HTML and CSS over. And if you do that and I catch you, I will immediately disqualify you no matter how great your product or idea is. So if you're going to do something like that because you ran out of time, make it very clear to the judges as you're demoing that this is the case. Don't try and pull one over on somebody. Many times in the past, people have told me, oh yeah, it's publicly hosted, it's on AWS, it's working great. And I go and I look and I see that it's being hosted from localhost or 127001. And it's not the fact that it's being locally hosted that's wrong. It's that you're lying to the judges who are trying to evaluate your product against something else. So when you cheat, when you try and pull one over on the judges, you're not just setting yourself back if you get caught, but you're also damaging your peers who are also demoing their own products. The next thing to do when you're building these demos is to know the judges. Are the judges investors? Are they CTOs? Are they API sponsors? And once you know the judges, you can kind of tailor your demo specifically for each one if they're going to be viewing it in series, or specifically for the whole set. Now, or more broadly for the whole set. Now, one thing that is absolutely vital for a successful demo is audience interaction. There's got to be some way for the audience to interact live. And if you don't have that, let's say you've built a new musical instrument, which is something that I've seen before at hackathons. It's an absolutely fascinating thing, and it's a really cool piece of technology that you've built, but you've got to find some way of bringing the audience into that experience. Because after demo after demo after demo, the one that has the interaction with the phone or something else is the one that's going to get people engaged, listening, and paying attention, and they're going to remember. So that's the demo phase. Let's go back to the building things phase. When you're building a project for a hackathon, you need to kind of figure out what your complementary skill sets are once you've built your team, and you have to quickly kind of move responsibilities around. The back end of your application is typically the most important thing to get done. If you can get a bare bones back end implementation done quickly, you'll be able to build almost anything. You can spend the majority of your time on the front end as soon as you've got that basic back end working. Now, I recommend starting on localhost. So let's say I'm at a hackathon and I want to build something. And I'm just going to try and think of a genuine idea right now. And it's very possible somebody has thought of this idea before. I'm not trying to claim that this is unique or anything, but I'm thinking about the tools that I have available. So I'm going to go over to the AWS console and just kind of look for a second and consider the things that I have at my disposal. And I know I have EC2, I know I have DynamoDB, but I think I want to do something with recognition. Recognition is a pretty powerful service. It's flashy. I can take photos. I can get information out of them. So I know I want to do something with recognition. I might want to do something with Lex, because Lex is kind of that chatbot, that audience interaction component. And I might want to do something with Connect as well, because Connect is able to integrate with Lex, and I can do more of that audience interaction component. And maybe I want to do something with Mobile Hub, where I can build and deploy my mobile app. Maybe I want to do something with Cognito for the user identity and sign-in. But what if we were to take something like recognition. And I think this is already done by a company called Gifted AI, but we're just going to build a similar example to that today. So Gifted AI, what they do is they take a series of pictures that are all tagged under a single person, and they take the labels that recognition generates and they build kind of a profile for a person. And then they go and they find products that that person might want. And the Nuclear is asking if Twitch employees can participate in the chatbot challenge. I don't know, actually. I think if you're an Amazon employee, you are somewhat barred from winning the challenge, but I don't think you're banned from or barred from participation. So I would strongly encourage you to check it out. I mean, it could be a ton of fun. So we have this recognition product, and we have a series of items or pictures that we could throw at it, generate some labels, assign it to a profile. But then the next API that I need is one that will find me products based on those search terms. And I don't even know if Amazon has a shopping API. So I'll have to look that up. The item search and product advertising API. So the item search operation searches items on Amazon. Has a brand, conductor. It takes a whole lot of parameters. So this is an advertising API, it looks like. Let's go back to this side and see if we can't find something out. So we could also always do something with, and I'm not going to say the word ALEXA because it'll activate my thing. We could always do something with the echo. That's also a great kind of demo. And then, and another thing to think about when you're developing locally, there are a couple of tools that make it a lot easier to deal with stuff like OAuth and payments. And that's the chief among those is a tool called ngrok. So whenever you're developing locally, I would strongly encourage you to check out this tool, ngrok. Because it'll basically let you take your local host and set that as a public HTTPS callback for whatever you're currently hosting. So services and APIs. Merch by Amazon, generate revenue with branded t-shirt, Amazon coins, Amazon incentives, Amazon Fling. Okay, I'm not interested in using any of these other Amazon APIs. So Angel Hack sponsors. I'm curious what some of the other Angel Hack sponsors are, because maybe we could use some of their APIs to build something cool. I wonder if there's a concert ticket API or music search API. Because a lot of times at hackathons, what you're doing is creatively combining a set of APIs. You're creatively combining a series of diverse orthogonal pieces of information in a way that hasn't been done before. So let's just see who some of these sponsors are. Haven, we've got PayPal, we've got, I don't know what some of these are. MailChimp, Oculus, we could do something like that. We've got IBM, Hacker Dojo. The Twitter API I know very well, so we could do something with the Twitter API. There's a Spotify search API. I think Musicbrainz, does Musicbrainz have a public API? And maybe Last.fm has an API, Last.fm API. I'm just trying to think of some way of taking pictures of a person and maybe building that into a profile where we can guess what kind of music they like, just from the pictures. So this is the Musicbrainz API. And it looks like that's just for identifying. So that won't actually work for searching music based on terms. What do you guys think? What are some APIs that you would like to see combined or built? Because I have some ideas, but I don't want to just launch into something that you guys aren't interested in seeing. There's a lot of things that we can build. We have some time today to really launch into this. So what do you think? And hello, Extreme Dad D380. We've got recognition, we've got DynamoDB, we have all of these different things. We should be able to build just about anything. So what I'll do for now is I want to continue working on that celebrity recognition bot that we built previously. We'll start from scratch, so we won't, oops, sorry. Or we could build kind of a selfie analytics platform. We could do that. Let's do that. That's something we've never built before. Okay, we're gonna build a selfie analytics platform. So the first thing that we can do is we could take all of our all of our streams are actually recorded, so you can go and look at the past videos, and you can also go and look at the YouTube channel that has a couple of examples of our past streams as well. And when it comes to chatbots, I would say Lex is a good way of building chatbots. The core kind of thing that finally clicked for me recently is with Lex, you're basically constantly cycling between eliciting an intent. So there's a type of dialogue action called elicit intent, and you're cycling between that and elicit slot. So at no point in time are you really trying to fulfill the dialogue and complete it and close it out, except maybe when the transaction or whatever it is you're trying to do is fully terminated. But at almost all points in time, you're going and sending back a response that looks something like, sorry, one second. That looks something like this. So dialogue action is elicit intent. And maybe the payload that you have coming in looks something like dialogue action intent request, and it says current intent is where are you, and then it has other data inside of there. And you're always basically returning a new dialogue action to get the user to the next step. So it's less about successfully identifying and building intents that get matched by the Lex parsing service, and more about building intents and slots that can be fulfilled by returning elicit intent and then the name of the intent you intend to elicit. And then also making sure that your program is smart enough to also ask for those slots. So that we covered that last time, and we talked about how you can build it and how you can vote on episodes and stuff like that. But jumping back into this initial thing, the last time So selfie analytics, that's what we decided we're going to build. Okay, so this is our hackathon project. It's a selfie analyzer. And the first thing that you need to do is get a whole bunch of selfies. Now, if you have an iPhone, this should be pretty easy. You can basically go into the Photos app and just export all of those photos that are identified as selfies. If you don't have an iPhone app, I think on Mac OS X, there's a really good way to search through all your photos and just identify the things that are selfies, because it will automatically figure that out for you. But you can also upload them to Amazon Prime Photos, and it'll generate that album for you as well. I would show you all of mine, but it might be like not. There could be people in those photos that haven't agreed to appear on the stream and stuff like that, and I don't want to get into that. So what we want to do is, I think I have a couple thousand selfies here. Let's check. I'll make this a little bit bigger so you can see. Oops, it's maybe too big. I'll say ls-la, and then I'll just count the lines, and it should be like a couple 100,000. Okay, 6,406 different selfies. So that's a selfie that's taken every time I open my laptop. Now, what I want to do is build a way of sending all of these into Rekognition, generating the labels for them, and then building a set of statistics around them. So, as always, what we'll do is create a Jupyter notebook. So I'll say mkdir selfie analytics, and then we'll say, and we'll probably use something like pandas for this. So install pandas. And for those of you who aren't aware, pandas is a kind of data analytics library for Python. It's a columnar data access built on top of NumPy. And has anybody here ever used R? So the R language? There's a lot of stuff in the R language that's somewhat analogous to what you can do in pandas. So here we go, launching this. And IPython notebooks have a pretty good way of auto-visualizing some pandas stuff that comes in. So as always, we'll import Boto3 first. We're also definitely going to need OS in this one. And we're going to need a Rekognition client. So I'll say boto3.client Rekognition. And the ask was, am I streaming from a Hackintosh or a MacBook, by the way? And I won't answer that question. I'm sure you could figure that out. So let's see here. We're going to create a Boto3 client, a Rekognition client. We're probably going to keep our results in DynamoDB, so we'll say boto3.resource DynamoDB .table, and I'll figure out a table name later. So we'll just call it selfies table for now. And we will build what? What are we going to build? That's it, really. Because all we want are the labels, and we'll get those from Rekognition. And then we want the data store, DynamoDB. But then we want to run, then we want to run the analysis on them. And to run the analysis on them, we'll use pandas. So for now, what I'll do is I'll just say for image, and so when you're doing a hackathon project, the first thing that you want to do is you want to kind of work with a small but representative data set. So the easiest way to do that in Python is to just limit the list that's returned. So I'll do os.list here, and I just have a whole bunch of selfies in this area where app. I've got to make sure it's in the right directory though. Dropbox apps where app auto selfie. Great, cool. Wrap auto selfie. And I can just return this result. No such, oh, I should probably do os.path.expand user so I can get that whole section taken care of. And I get all my stuff. Okay, cool. And I think there's a Python library called glob. That's probably what I want to use here. Glob. And glob uses the C. I guess it won't work in Windows then, but we don't really need to worry about that. Again, it is a hackathon project. So what we want is glob all JPEGs. So we'll do glob all. Let's look up how to use this one more time. We want to, so I'm actually interested in doing this in Python 3. The pathlib library. So do I want recursive? I don't want recursive, but I do want star JPEG. So how am I going to get that whole section? Glob path name, and then what is that secondary pattern? Well, we can just do it like this. For now, because eventually I think the goal is to be able to take this as web input and build out our stuff that way. So we'll allow a user to upload an image, we'll build an S3 signed URL, take that in, run the analytics, return it to the user, and we'll aggregate and all of those, build a little profile for the user. So glob.glob plus all.jpg. And it would help to import glob. And it would help to spell expand right. Okay, so that's the full path to all the things that we are looking for. And those are all of our JPEGs. And what we want to do, I think, is just limit this to maybe the first 10 or so. So we'll say, just give me the first 10 of these. And then we want to say for, and I'll probably want to build a thread pool to do this faster eventually. I'll say for, oh, and then Julian Kleinhahn said hello to you. For, let's see, for image, and we'll call this images. And I'll actually put the limit on this one so that I can tune it more easily. For image and images, I want you to go out to recognition and detect
labels, and I'll build a little object to send that out, bytes, image equals bytes, and we will say what are we going to say?
One thing that we could do on top of this is we could say, what celebrity do you look most alike?
Okay, image bytes is going to be
so Extreme D3AD asks, what is Jupyter? Is it just a script editor for Python, or are there other things that make it interesting?
Jupyter is a project that kind of came from IPython. So IPython built these things called notebooks, and those notebooks were very, very useful. You can share them. So at the end of most of my streams, I save one of these notebooks, I put it on GitHub, and it will render on GitHub. You can also create cells that contain markdown, that can have different kind of toggling, and can run both Python and R and all manner of things. We'll call this selfie analytics.
So that's what Jupyter is. It's a pretty powerful tool. It's used primarily in data science. So people don't use it as often just for pure prototyping like what we're doing now, but I find that it's pretty useful to share after a stream because people can just take what I've written and run with it. And they can kind of see what the thought process was. And now I'm trying to figure out how to get this open image. I think what we'll do is build a little list comprehension here where we say image, we'll say labels equals this, and then we'll say labels image equals or we'll say as f.read, and I think we also want to put in, well, that's enough for now. So this should run for a bit, and then we should get this kind of labels dictionary that comes out that has all the stuff that we're interested in. And we probably want to go in and do something like this, where we make it run on the actual labels as well. So it looks like we only ran on one of these. Well, what's the length of labels? Only one. So why did that happen? Shouldn't it have kept going? Shouldn't we have at least 10? What did I do wrong in my code here? Oh, it's that's why. I'm an idiot. Sorry. We put that in the for loop, so it was reassigning it every time. Okay, so this time it'll run through all 10. And let's see. We got all of our labels. And we probably want to do some sort of transform on this actually. So we'll say detected
So we'll just say because we probably want to take the name of the label and give it a value of the confidence. So it'll be kind of like a nested deal. I think that's how we want to do it. I'm not certain. There may be a better way. So you can see it's detecting the label selfie on a lot of these. Let's just work with the way we have it for now. And then we'll create a new pandas data frame. And I don't remember how to use the pandas library, so we'll look that up. So pandas tutorial. I like this one that says 10 minutes to pandas, because that's about how long we have. So we can create a series. We create data frames, but we want to create a data frame from a dictionary. I'm not so concerned about that. So data frame from Python dictionary. Cool, so it has one. So pandas.dataframe from dictionary labels. And arrays must be all the same length. So I can't have sparse arrays from pandas. Pandas sparse columns dictionary. So maybe what I really want to do is I want to take whatever the total set of unique labels is and set that as the fill value for the data frame. So I think we'll do a transform on this. We'll say labels. So we'll say detected equals this, and then we'll say, if detected, because we might not ever detect some label. So if detected, then we want to transform it into detected we want to say detected name, detected confidence for or we'll just say, for label and detected. Label name, label confidence, and then we'll just say detected equals that. So we're basically just transforming this variable and then doing labels image equals detected. detected. And we'll see what it looks like this time. And then we see we get an array of animal, 52% canine, pet, all these other things. Okay, cool. So we need to figure out a way of putting this into that pandas data frame. We don't really need to, because we could do our own kind of moving averages and stuff like that around this, but it's just easier to visualize in that kind of table format. So df, or sorry. So Python numpy array from dictionary, and I think there'll be some things to allow me to fill in some default variables here. Because columnar additions in pandas are supposed to be very easy. Pandas data frame, new column for each. Let's just see if we can't figure this out. If anybody knows pandas better than I do, please let me know. Pandas auto add column. You can do this. Let's just try this one more time. We'll say, what did I say last time? It's gonna give me that same error of mixing dictionaries with non-series may lead to ambiguous ordering. Is there a way to suppress that error? Because I don't really care about the ordering. So I want to say data frame from dictionary, orient columns. Oh, the keys should definitely be rows. So I need to do orient index. Orient index. Pandas should work in Python 3, right? If it doesn't, that's a bad day. From dictionary labels, orient index. Should be a list. It should return that list. Oh, labels is a list. Let's go back to data frame here for a second. From items. Mixing dicts with non-series may lead to ambiguous ordering. I want it to like auto-populate the columns here. I wonder if it'd be easier to just kind of, because I basically want one column for each array that I'm accessing. See, in a relational database, what we do is for each of these labels, we just add them to a table with a foreign key back to this image. And then we record that, and then we could do a join on all the images that we were trying to read from records. Let's try from records. No. Okay, let's skip this part for now. I'm not sure I fully thought this through. And let's turn this into a web app that we can interact with, where we can upload our selfies. So the first thing that we want to do is go over into the selfie analytics page, and we'll say mkdir web app, cd web app. And basically we just want a page where we can upload an image and get some results back. So it'll basically be fronting the recognition API, but it'll also store that image and allow us to kind of aggregate results in a user profile. So we'll use Flask for that. So I'll create a virtual environment. So then I'll do pip install Flask. Yeah, I'll do it. And we'll just say vim app.py and import Flask. Flask. Say, maybe I should call this something other than app. Maybe I'll change it to application. Application.py, and then we'll look up how to use Flask, because again, I don't fully remember. Should be super straightforward though. Where is this thing? So app equals flask.flask name. And then we'll say def parse image, which will just upload one of those images to S3. And we'll get a pre-signed URL to do that probably, unless we can take it straight through API Gateway, but that might be expensive. All this is taking way too much time. It's not going to let us win a hackathon, is it? So then we're going to need an index page. Say app.route. And I think they have changed the way you're supposed to run Flask now. So I think you're just supposed to say like Flask app equals hello or application.py, and then you say Flask run. We get our URL and we'll get some sort of 500 error because we just returned. Yeah, okay, cool. But we've got that working. So I'll switch into Sublime Text now. So what do we need to build here? We're gonna need a templates file. So we're gonna need like a index.html and kdir templates, touch index.html, and we'll definitely need Bodo, import Bodo 3. So we could just say, Kenzo Dev says, why not flip this the other way around? What do you mean exactly? I love changing my idea from my original idea because I'm starting to hate my original idea. So have an S3 notification ping the, trigger the Lambda function to process the thing, put it into DynamoDB, and then render it. I kind of want to tag some sort of user information onto S3. So what I need to do is I need to generate a pre-signed URL for S3. So pre-signed S3 URL. I like how they have examples in every language except the one we're using. So we'll say vim index.html, Savel index.html. And then I'll just say snippet HTML title, our great hackathon app. And then we'll say, we'll have some script in here for doing the upload. And this is just gonna be form. I don't even remember HTML, it's been so long. Does anybody remember in HTML how I can upload a file? It's gonna be like input type equals file, name equals file to upload, or let's call this upload, and ID. We'll give it an ID so we can style it. I'm off in another tab at the moment, trying to see if there's like an existing widget for uploading something to S3. Because basically the call that we'll end up making will be s3.generate bodo3.client s3, and we'll say URL equals s3.generate pre-signed URL, and it's going to be put object, and it'll have whatever params it has, and it'll have expires in, I don't know, 3600. So exactly, yeah. So IAM can sometimes get in the way. So most of the times at hackathons, I just run with like a very broad IAM policy. And I always lock it down before I go to the demo, just in case somebody in the audience gets like a really special idea. Also, I'm not like at 100% today. I'm sorry. Basic tasks are taking me longer than they normally do. I'm just not feeling great. So we can generate our pre-signed URL, we can get that URL, we can send it back to the client as the upload URL. So I'm going to get rid of this page entirely, actually. So what we'll do is we'll just make this kind of Jinja, and we'll have the action for this be to post to that URL. Form action S3 pre-signed URL put object. Because I want to make sure that we have some means of like actually uploading this easily. I've done this probably like 1,000,000 times before, and I don't know why it's taking me so long to come up with a good way of doing it right now. I'm sure if we were using React.js or something, there'd be just, you know, one little widget that we could use. S3 pre-signed URL form action. So Kenzo Dev says there is no React or Angular or something like that that'll pre-sign it and upload it for us. So I see this browser-based upload using HTTP post. Maybe that's what we need to use. React component that renders an input type file and automatically uploads to an S3 bucket. Good God. This is complex. So this is what I'm browsing in case anybody's wondering. It's interesting that we have this MIME types to automatically guess the type of the object. I should have been doing that in a bunch of other things. This could be updated. I mean, in the end, I just want to render it as a Jinja template. Jinja S3 pre-signed URL. Flask Jinja S3 pre-signed URL. I know that I can write it myself, I just don't want to. Generates an endpoint. This is kind of interesting. This is like a pretty huge project that somebody undertook. This is just for serving static assets from S3. And KinsoDev, I did check out that React thing that you sent over, but it doesn't quite do what I want. Okay, well, enough is enough. We have tried and failed to do this the way we wanted to, so we will just do it as form input. So this will now just be /upload. So that means we will have an upload route, just in the interest of time. And this will just create a new object. So Flask file as form input. Got to look up how to take a file in Flask just because I don't remember. It's when you're dealing with Flask like multi-part form data, it gets frustrating sometimes. So we'll say method equals post. I have to look at how to do a form again because I still don't remember that. So HTML form file upload. So I'll need an action and I'll need html.com. I've never been to this website before. And we'll say this takes a post. I think form method should be post by default, right? Oh, there's an image type. Oh no, that's an image that is clicked on to submit a form. That's a really poorly named. Ugh, that's poorly named. So input type is going to be, and we won't need this anymore. I'm so tired. So we want to upload where we'll say s3.object is going to be equal to request. Oh, so I'll need to import request. So this will actually be from Flask import request request dot files, and what did I call this again? I called it upload. And we'll just actually make this resource, and then we'll say bucket equal, we'll call it bucket in all caps. Bucket will be Boto3, or sorry, S3 equals S3 dot bucket selfies and we'll say bucket dot object, and I'll just double check that this works really fast. S3 equals Boto3 resource S3 S3 dot bucket is going to be selfies, and I already know I have one called Randall selfies, so I'll just do that, and then I'll say that equals bucket and bucket dot put object is what I really want to do. Put object, and I need to see what that takes as input. Put object class files upload body equals that. And that should let us upload a picture. Return 200. So we'll just test this really fast. And then Flask tutorial. There's got to be a way really quickly. And then Ollie842, what would you recommend as the first programming language to begin learning? I love Python. I think Python's just fine to do just about anything you need to do. You can't go wrong with most other languages too, but I would avoid JavaScript like the plague as a first language. I don't think it makes a very good first language. It'll teach you a lot of bad habits. Pardon me. I don't know why I'm so tired. So let's see here. We want to render one of our templates. So we're going to need render template. It's going to be just render, return render template index.html entries equals entries. No, I don't have anything that I'm uploading, so. I was really hoping to be able to auto-generate that pre-signed URL to upload it, but I can't in a reasonable amount of time. So, Flask. Method equals post. Oh. Well, that's not supposed to be. Init got an unexpected keyword method. What on earth does that mean? So now if I go here and I choose a file, I'm going to choose headshot square as my file. I'm going to click submit and it'll say method not allowed. Great. So I think I need to go here and do form method equals post or something. How to upload an image HTML. I have not done this in so long. Ink type is going to be multi-part form data. There we go. Where is this thing? Here we go. So method will be post, and then we'll get this ink type equals multi-part form data. And that ought to do it. Why is it still doing a get? I don't understand why it's still doing a get after I've... Oh, is it because this is in all caps? We will upload this. Why is it still... Katsu Koizumi asks, do I read chat? I do indeed read chat. What are you up to? What do you want to know? I'm trying to figure out why I can't get any of this done right now. I'm losing my mind. It's been so long since I've done any of this from scratch. This makes no sense. Why is it still loading the same crappy get? Like, didn't I change this? Oops. Moving this to another window. It's like, what do you guys see here? There's a form action. The method is post. The encoding type is multi-part form data. There's an input type. I mean, method is post. Action is that URL. Have I properly terminated it? Type is submit, name is submit. Do I need to give it an ID? Here, I'll give it an ID. Upload. Check what my browser is rendering of that form. Excuse me. So Julian came out. Mazo says check the browser rendering of the form. It's method post. Action is upload. Multi-part form data, which I really don't think I need. I think I've just lost my mind. I think that's where we are at this point. Oh, good. We got a different error this time. I love getting a different error. Wonderful. That's fine. That's fine. Okay, everything's working now. Zerix, that's a hard name to say. Ask if I work for AWS. I do, but after they watch me try and program a basic thing like this and fail, I'm not sure that I'll be continuing to work there. So the body and then the key is just going to be, I don't know what the key will be. What is the key going to be? The key should be like whatever user we propagate. For now, we'll just call it user. Because I'm going to delete this and do it a different way in just a second. I'm just trying to make sure that half of this works. Come on now. So we'll upload this. Int object is not callable. Is that because it's a file descriptor? Like, do I need to actually say read on this thing? So we'll say print request.files. I mean, if I really do need to like go into this thing and open the file and all of this other crap, that's going to be annoying. I think this really should just be like f equals request.files upload if request.files, then key is going to be like f.file name, and then body is going to be f.files is an array, so I should get the first one. Is it an array? I don't think it's an array. I think it's like a dictionary, right? And then I can get it from that dictionary. I think I need to look at like what the Flask. And then Zigrigs asks, why does AWS not support MongoDB like they do for MySQL? And that's because MySQL and Postgres and Oracle and MariaDB and all these other ones, they fall into a pretty straightforward regime for hosting, backing up, things like that. MongoDB is actually a pretty darn different type of database. So it's harder to kind of like host it within the same service as RDS. So I actually used to work at MongoDB a long time ago, and I'm pretty familiar with it. They have this thing called Atlas, which is pretty good, and that runs on, at least partially, on AWS. So BK Harbor has already mentioned, that we can generate a signed URL and then use an S3 trigger. We have already attempted to do that. I have been attempting to do that, but the form where you're supposed to upload this is the part that is giving me trouble. So this form action, like you have your example bucket and you have your posts, that's where I was having the issue. So maybe there's a way around this briefly in just a second. I'm gonna try that, see if I can't make it a little bit easier. But basically, I don't want to have to include all this extra nonsense just to be able to upload a file. So that's why we're not doing that currently. That was the first thing that we attempted to do. And I will move back to that in a little bit. Class file object. And I'm trying to figure out how to like get at this file data without having to save it to disk. It should just be read. Like I should just be able to call .read on this file. Like that should just work. But if it doesn't work, I will be a little depressed. All right, let's try it again. So we're gonna upload headshot.jpg or headshot square, whatever. And we got another internal server error, which was int object is not callable. So where is that happening exactly? Oh, it's because I'm sending this return 200 that it's not working. So why don't I just say return great. Great, it worked. And Zig asks what programming languages I know, and if you've been watching this stream for any period of time at all, it's quite obvious I don't know any programming languages. So, you know, there's that. Cool. So if we do want to generate this like pre-signed URL thing, what we should be able to do is when we come to render template, we should be able to make this action that pre-signed URL. So that's the part that I'm going to try and figure out now. URL equals s3 dot, or we'll say bucket dot generate pre-signed URL. Bucket dot gener get nope bucket dot create help. Oh, this is to create the bucket itself. I don't care about that. So maybe it's bucket multi-part uploads objects big object key equals uid.uid4 dot. So I'll import UUID. I just imported UUID. Unknown keyword argument. I would have sworn that was the only keyword arguments that it took. Help. Bucket object. UUID4. Cool. So I'll say obj equals underscore and then obj dot generate get. Come on, pre-signed URL. There's got to be something somewhere. So annoying. Wait until exists. Get available sub-resources. Okay, I'm just going to use the regular. I'm just going to use the regular S3 client instead of the S3 resource because I actually know how to use that. So switching this over a bit to client, and then we're just going to say bucket equals selfies, random selfies, and we'll say if request files, f equals request files. We don't need any of this anymore. We can delete all of this. And we'll say, okay, URL bucket, URL equals, and we're going to import UUID as well. Import UUID, and we'll probably integrate Cognito into this at some point to get it all tied together. But basically, from Stack Overflow, BK Harbor has Boto3 client, S3 client, generate pre-signed URL. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm about to do, except this pre-signed URL is actually for downloading an object, but what we're interested in doing is uploading an object. So what we're going to do is s3.generate pre-signed URL put object, and params equals bucket is going to be bucket, whatever we have hard configured, and then key is going to be UUID 4, and expires in expires in 3600, because nobody keeps web pages open for longer than an hour. And I can go ahead and guess that this won't work, but I'm going to try it anyway. What is our internal server error? Parameter validation failed. Oh, that's because I need to do. I think I can call hex digest or something on this, but rather than doing that, I'm just going to call string. There we go. I wish this would like auto reload. I think if I set it in debug mode as true, it will auto reload. Then we'll go into headshot square. We'll click upload. And I have no idea what happened there. I think this actually needs to be that. I can't remember Flask template language, which is Jinja 2. So I just don't remember how to get it to like, is it, oh, it's just gonna be 2 of these. There we go. So we'll run this one more time. We'll refresh the page. And the request signature we calculated does not match the signature you provided. Check your key and signing method. Post multi-part form data boundary. Got a host ID. But that's somewhat to be expected, actually. Now we kind of go back to this page here, and we figure out on this examples part what exactly it is we have to set on this page in order to get the thing to do what we want. And so we probably need a post policy as part of, so we're going to say S3 post policy for a signed URL. So we want to photo3 signed post URL. Because Bodo3's generate pre-signed URL should just like do all of it for you. You shouldn't really need to do anything else after that. Bodo3 S3 client. I just want to look at the docs for the regular S3 client and figure it out from there, because I'm sure they have an example of it. Client generate pre-signed. Oh, it's generate pre-signed post. That's what I need. This is why you should just always go to the docs, guys. Like, you should just always go to the docs. That's how you do all of this. Okay, so we want generate pre-signed post, not URL. And then bucket is going to be bucket, and key is going to be UUID. Expires in 3600. And then what do I need to set for fields? A dictionary of pre-filled form fields to build on top of. Elements that may be included are ACL, cache control, content type, content disposition, content encoding, expire, success action, redirect, and then conditions. I don't need any conditions. I might put those in later. Great. This should work. I am 50% confident this one will work. We spent a lot of time not actually getting anything done. Okay. Okie dokie. Oh, it would help if I actually wrote valid syntax. And we'll upload headshot square. We'll choose submit. Oh, I see. This is returning an object instead of a. So okay, I see what's going on here. We actually have to like render the form based on what it is generating. So we'll create a bunch of hidden form fields and render it from there. So I'm just going to copy all of these. I'm going to copy. Method is going to be post. Input type key. So I'll just print this. So we'll say print post URL equals that, post URL. And I'm just going to copy all of this for now. And let's see, what do we need? We need the key. That's weird that we need that because I thought I was auto-generating that. So action is going to be form.url. Method, or it might be like form URL. Method is going to be post. So I'm going to get rid of that for now, actually. because I don't want it to be able to manually set the key. Content type I don't care about. What is this X Amazon Meta UUID thing? I don't really care about that. Server-side encryption I don't care about. Amazon credential I don't care about. Amazon signing algorithm do I really need all of these things? I can't see how I possibly need all of these, and I don't care about the tags. Policy I might need. So this will be form policy. Yeah, I should check to see if that has some of those. So let me go back over this way real quick. We'll just generate one of these for a hot second. Photo3.client S3 and bucket is going to be Randall. So please. So these are the fields. It has AWS access key ID, it's got a key, it's got a policy, it's got a signature, and then it's got a URL. So I really don't think you need to pass that in unless you absolutely have to. So signature is just going to be so I really need AWS access key ID in the form, because shouldn't that be inherent in the signature? Oh well. Okay, so we'll say input type equals hidden, name equals key. I don't need this ACL. And then success action to redirect, I'm going to comment that out for right now. Meta UUID, I don't need that one. Policy I do need, so we'll say policy fields. Right, but access key ID is like a public variable, so it's not like it's really validating anything, right? Like the signature and the policy are the things that it validates. It doesn't need the access key to validate because you generated that URL with that access key, so it already knows that you're using that access key to upload it. Theoretically, is like what I'm saying. Like it's not a necessary security measure from my basic understanding of nothing. So, okay, input type. X Amazon signature is going to be value signature. And I'm just going to unpack like fields. And ROC08 asks, what are some good resources to learn Python as a hobby? I think like grabbing a Raspberry Pi and just doing some projects with that is kind of fun. It's like $29 and you can start just programming around. Otherwise, there's this website called JavaBat that I've always loved, just for like doing Python puzzles, and they have puzzles in more than just Java. They have them in Python too, and you can go through all those puzzles, and if you can solve all of those puzzles, you're a pretty darn good Python programmer. And then after you've gotten past that, you get into web programming, and with the web programming kind of things, like you get into your own little world and you can learn all kinds of stuff. So as far as books go, I mean, there's no reason to pick up a book just to get started. It can certainly help, but you know, you don't need it. You can do pretty much everything just with get pre-signed post. And yeah, I mean, dive into Python. I haven't read it, but if somebody else likes it a lot, go for it. ACL, content type, X Amazon Meta UUID, I don't need any of those. Expire, success action redirect, success action status. Yeah, the only one you need is signature. You don't even need policy. All right, let's try it again. Post parameters are case insensitive. I don't need an ACL. I don't need a Meta UUID. I don't need a server-side encryption. I don't need an Amazon credential. I don't need an algorithm. I don't need an Amazon date. All I need is the signature. And maybe that policy. I might need that policy. Ingo Starbucks says, hello, Randall. It is Randall, yeah, hi. So this is our post policy that we've created. All I need is the signature. I don't need to pass in this ID. I must provide a key name that starts with such and such. The object must be an image file. X Amazon Meta UUID tag must be set to meta tag. Okay, great. This is all, we're good then. Okay, so what did it say the last time I tried to upload this? URL is not defined. Global name URL is not defined. So we'll say post URL, and then we'll say post URL fields. Render tape. Could you adjust the dimensions? We can't see what you're typing. I will happily make it bigger for you. Sorry about that. Oh, it's not that. It's the stupid this thing. There you go. And I'll move this here. Get my ugly mug out of the way. So render template. Shouldn't render template just take an arbitrary number of arguments? See, it should take an arbitrary number of arguments. So why is it not? Render template takes exactly one argument? Is it that it can't unpack multiple ones? Fine. Signature equals post URL fields signature. So frustrating. So we'll say hello, upload, and user key must have a length greater than 0. Invalid argument. I thought the key was of length greater than 0. Because I've already set the key. But maybe I need to pass that key in because forms are stupid. So we're going to call this key. We're going to say X. I'm going to say key. It's going to have value of key. I have key in there twice. Sorry, where do I have key? Oh, yeah, you're right. Yeah, so I think if I just take key out, it will just upload to the key that I had specified. Nice catch, B Carver. Yeah, that was a really good catch. Oh, it hasn't reloaded. If I set like this, like debug equals true, will it automatically reload my code every time? Because it's getting really old to refresh all of this. Okay, it does need to contain the name key. Okay, that's fine. It was worth trying. And I can understand why it would need that. That makes sense to me. If it tells me it needs all the other crap too, then it will make less sense to me. Okay, I'm thinking think you want Flask debug 1 in the environment variable. Thanks. So I'm gonna say Flask underscore debug 1. Ah, great. And now it started with everything I need. So, and this is going to be and this is just going to be sig v4 policy access key ID. This really just needs to be like algorithm. It's gonna be that. If it tells me that I need all of this other stuff too, I'm gonna lose my mind. Amazon credential, okay. I do need that one. The Twitch audience was correct. I'm gonna stop second guessing them and just do everything. Where is it? Is it policy? No, it's AWS access key ID. And then what is this one? This is going to be X Amazon policy or something. No, it's just going to be policy. So I wish there were a way to unpack fields. I don't know why it's not letting me unpack fields into its own little object. So I should just be able to go like this and have it take everything. But I know that won't work. But then if I put it beforehand, it also doesn't work. Oh, maybe it does work. Good. Okay then. Do I need to send in key as well? Because I don't think key, no, key does appear in here, good. So headshot. X Amazon date. Seriously? So it needs to be this whole string. So why does it need a date too? I get that this is all for security, but at some point it makes me infuriated. The date is the same as in the policy. All right. Date equals time.time. String from time Python or something like that. String to time. Import time. You know, an interesting thing is happening with epoch time today. Today we will cross 1.5 billion in Unix epoch, which is pretty darn cool. Time.mk time. Exactly one argument. Time.time. Yeah. I want to see what the default string from time thing is. String from time. Time.time. So, what is the default one of these? I'm sorry guys, I just realized I have a meeting right now. So I will delay it for 5 minutes, but then I do need to go. Okay, so let's just get this working. It won't take much longer. It's just gonna be the it's going to be the year, which is going to be %y. It's going to be the, there's got to be something that's just like the full UTC time. Does anybody know like how to get just like the locale appropriate time? I don't want to use a time string in my brain. There should be something that just returns this by default without me having to fill it all out, because it's like a very common format. Oh well. So what does it look like again? It's just a string. So we're gonna do the year, the month. We'll do the day. We will do t, and then we will do the time, or the hour, the minute, and then z, which is supposed to be the offset, but we won't have any z. Oh, no. So we'll say, what is this again? Capital S. No, M is right. What is percent H? H. And then the seconds. Okay. So we'll do this. We will do okie dokie. And we pass it in, and hopefully this one works. Helps if you import time. So the signature we calculated does not match the signature you provided. Makes me think that there is some sort of issue here. I wonder if I don't actually need this part. I probably do. The credential is malformed. Okay, great. So does this need to be this day, this time? Like 2017-07. 2017-07, 13. That can't be right. I thought it was supposed to. Oh well. I'm gonna make something that makes this a lot easier. Okay. That's all the time I have. I'm sorry, we didn't get anything done today. I will do another broadcast either tomorrow or on Monday to make up for us not being able to complete this one. There's a lot more stuff that I wanted to get into, but we got sidetracked with this. Very sorry. I hope you guys have a great day, and I'm sorry I have to run off. I've got another meeting. We'll pick up next time, and we'll do a lot more than what we've done this time.